More of the confusion around AB5 and the new independent contractor law rule test, the ABC test, Dynamex, some people call it Dynamex. This is all stuff that is causing a lot of freakouts in the state of California and beyond because there's so much uncertainty around this new law for contractors that most people don't know whether or not outside of California business contracts in California, contractors inside, outside California. Lots of confusion. In this video today, I want to do something a little bit differently. In a few seconds, you're going to see a quick clip from the author of AB5, Lorena Fletcher Gonzalez, an assembly member in California, and she's going to describe how you can be a sole proprietor or any type of small business like LLC or corporation and still be totally exempt from this new law, which really means that there's no change to the independent contractor world if what she says is true. However, the problem being the courts, the Employment Development Department, the EDD, those are the folks that are going to enforce this new law when they audit companies to determine whether or not classification of employee versus contractor is correct. And so there is no guarantee that what Lorena says will be what they do. But let's let you watch this video real quick on her trying to clarify that if you're a sole proprietor, meaning if you're just an individual doing business, no LLC, no corporation, and you've got a few clients and you're not just doing business with one individual or one individual company that keeps hiring you, that you're totally exempt from AB5 and these new laws.
AB5 allows for legitimate small business, even sole proprietors, to operate as such. If you want the opportunity to be an independent business, AB5 allows for that. You can be a sole proprietor. If there's an individual who's freelancing for multiple organizations who truly is a small business, it's in the bill that they can continue to do that.
All right, so that's straight from the author of the bill's mouth herself. What does it mean? Well, it's not necessarily as straightforward and as simple as she lays it out in that interview, which that interview was kind of a train wreck because the reporters and her were not really getting along. So, what it actually means to be able to be a sole proprietor or an LLC or a corporation and be totally exempt from AB5 and the ABC test, actually that means that you are still subject to the old test. The old test is something called the Borello test. It's actually a number of factors, not just three, and they're not all or nothing like the ABC test. They're actually sort of a sliding scale, and if you weigh in favor of independence on more of the factors, then you would weigh towards employment. You're an independent contractor. And so what are some of those factors under Borello? Well, the first one is the traditional sort of not being under the control of whoever's hiring you as the contractor. So that means as a contractor, you have sort of independent judgment. You kind of make your own time, and when you get things done, you might have deadlines, but for the most part, it's not 9 to 5, butts and seats. They control everything that you do as a contractor. Typically, easy one to satisfy. Now, whether or not the contractor is providing services directly to the hiring party's clients or customers. So if a business contracts out to a contractor, whether or not that contractor is directly interfacing with the clients of the business that contracted them. If they are directly interfacing, more like an employee. If not, definitely more like a contractor. Now, whether or not there's a written contract in place. Most contractors at this point in time all have some kind of contractor agreement. If you don't, get a lawyer, get one drafted. That's a big one, and that's always going to be helpful in all of these different tests. Now, whether or not the contractor is in a jurisdiction, so your county or your city most likely, that requires a business to have a business tax license, sometimes called a business tax certificate. Now, if you are in a jurisdiction that requires it, let's say, for instance, City of San Diego, they do require it, and you don't have one, that's not good. That looks like employee. So if you are a sole proprietor, that's an individual just doing business on their own, or an LLC, or a corporation, and you're in a place like City of San Diego that requires a business tax license, get it, because it helps with this test, and it's required by law if you're doing business to have it anyway. Now, the next one. Does the contractor maintain a place of business that's not who's hiring them's place of business? So does that mean, do you have to not ever work in the workplace of the business that might be contracting you as a contractor? No, it's not that significant. It just means that you as a contractor have some principal place of business, office, workspace, even if it's your home office, that isn't the office and workplace of the company contracting you. That helps you be solidly in independent contractor status under the business to business exemption of the ABC test under AB5. Now, are you customarily and traditionally engaged in this profession that you're providing to the contracting business? So, business contracts you, and it's something that you do all the time for many other customers and clients. Great, that weighs in favor of independent contractor. If, on the other hand, a company contracts with you all the time and that's the only people that pay you and you're only really working with them, that looks more like employee. So if you're in that situation, go find another client, and then you've got two clients and you satisfy that one. The next one. So, do you contract with others? That's kind of the same as the last factor. The last factor is traditionally, do you service other clients and customers? This next factor is really more along the lines of, do you literally now have contracts with many other clients or customers? If you do, then that weighs in favor of contractor. Do you hold yourself out to be an independent business as a contractor? That means, do you have a website? Do you look for new clients? As opposed to, are you just working for this one contract and this one employer? Then you're an employee. Do you have your own tools and equipment? Do you negotiate your own rates? Do you do work that is either consistent with the work you're being engaged for or not? These are all the types of factors that you have to analyze under the business to business exemption of AB5 to determine whether, even as an individual sole proprietor, you can still legitimately contract as an independent contractor. And that's why there is so much confusion around this bill. This part of the bill essentially means that nothing should change. However, everyone is freaking out about this bill because why did we codify a new set of rules around something that already exists if this specific exemption doesn't change what already exists? And as a result of that sort of redundancy or the confusing motivation as to why this bill became law has created a lot of sort of hyper prudence amongst businesses that have traditionally contracted out. Even if it satisfies all these factors we're talking about right now, a lot of businesses are still saying, whoa, new law, we don't know how this is going to shake out. We really don't want to get audited and see that now we owe a bunch of back wages or meal breaks or whatever. Even if they would have been satisfying the Borello test from the beginning, there's just no certainty as to whether or not the words from Lorena you heard at the beginning of the video will hold up, whether that's how the state will enforce this new law. And so as a result, businesses don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to deal with the potential for an audit. And that's why you hear a lot of businesses saying, okay, that's great that you're a sole proprietor and you have your business tax license. We need you to be an LLC or a corporation because we're just not comfortable with the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to fall into this business to business exemption. And as a result, we can't work with you unless you're an LLC or corporation. So the overall gist of this video really is to drive the point home that there shouldn't be any changes to the independent contractor world with regard to small businesses, even if you're an individual sole proprietor and have never filed for an LLC or a corporation. But this new law kind of just repeats a bunch of laws and wage orders and things that are already on the books, so everyone's really uncertain how it's going to be enforced. Hopefully this is helpful to sort of calm the chaos and the freakouts, and I'll leave you with, and this might not be helpful to calm the freakouts, we just have to see how this plays out. There are already a couple of bills that are being written by Lorena and other folks to either repeal AB5, Lorena's not writing the repeal, but other assembly members are. Lorena's writing a few bills that are supposed to clarify all this and make it much more clear and help dispel the confusion, but hopefully this video helps to do so. And of course, reach out to an attorney to get a full analysis to try to determine whether or not you fall in which category here. Great. This is a little bit longer of a video. Sorry about that, but confusing topic. Hope this is helpful. Have a great day.